Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. Matt, feeling a bit weird right now just because I feel like our last 4 episodes or so were recorded in person, but we're back in our respective offices. You in the Saturday Morning Arcade Clubhouse, me in Mistake Zone HQ, and Matt, we'll make it work. We'll make it work once again, just like we've always done for most of this season. But Matt, I come to you this week with Matt, as I'm staring down the barrel of, I'm just going to say it, my mid-30s. Matt, I had a chance to talk to a younger cousin this weekend. And
Jaren, just so we can place this, what do you mean by younger? What age group are we talking about here?
13-year difference.
Okay.
Give or take. But Matt, I feel like you and me have some similar grounds in what I'm about to say. But Matt,
Okay.
isn't it weird being a K-pop boomer? Because Matt, follow me on this one. We have our own respective histories with K-pop and being part of K-pop fandom. And, I grew up with, 2NE1, 21. I, like many adolescents at the time, were CL simps. And I believe, your acquired taste was Girls' Generation, I believe.
Did a whole episode on this with Rakush. Yep.
And Matt, 2017, I was also, I want to go as far to say I am a once, but I dabbled in the twice, Matt. If I was to say I have a bias, that would probably be Chaeyoung. Like I can say that. I can say that. But Matt, talking to, current once, I guess, Twice fans right now. And Twice recently had a concert here in Toronto. And talking to someone who went to that, the cousin in question, and my Twice fandom cred, Matt, being a 2017 Twice fan, doesn't play in 2023 because Matt, apparently they didn't play Likey during the concert, and Matt, I feel like when I said, oh yeah, like I love the choreography to Likey, and being served a look that didn't feel great to be on the receiving end of that, Matt.
Jen, wait, is that because you're old, or is that because you like older K-pop?
I think it's a combination of the two.
Oh, okay.
Where Matt, with K-pop being where it is right now in popular culture, how does Girls' Generation come up to you in contemporary standards?
No, Girls' Generation is, I feel like, talked about in current K-pop the same way that we would talk about groups like Backstreet Boys or Spice Girls.
So basically how 2NE1's being brought up in 2023 at this point.
See, Jen, I get a lot of my current gen K-pop talk with our mutual friend, twitchtv.pogypogy.
Yes.
He is basically my link into current gen K-pop.
Man, Matt, I feel like my extent to current K-pop is, I'll listen to 50/50. I'll listen to New Jeans. I can say that I went to Korea and put my hand in Wendy of Red Velvet's handprint.
Rip in peace, 50/50.
Matt, that's wild. I feel like, I know this isn't a K-pop adjacent podcast, but Matt, when I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I heard the label drop them essentially. And isn't that essentially a death sentence in Korea?
Yeah. See, okay, Jaren, the thing is, which is like really wild to me, is that the general internet, at least from what I've kept up with, it seems that the general internet population is actually against the members, which is
Really?
very, very wild to see. Because usually, I think in every other case I've seen where it's company versus members, nobody is ever on the company side. But this is the first time I've seen where they are on the company side, and it's wild to me.
Not to get too in the weeds, but when kind of that was revealed, I thought that was actually pretty. Yeah, I was kind of floored just because I feel like in terms of Western penetration, I thought 50/50 was actually up there. I believe they were on the Barbie soundtrack most recently as well. And I believe the video for that was shelved.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, Matt. The K-pop entertainment industry is a doozy, and I guess we should point our friends that haven't listened to the idol-centric episode that you and Rikush did a few weeks back.
I think that was like a few months back, to be fair.
A few months back, for sure, when I was isekai'd away, but that's something to look into if that, tickles your fancy. But Matt, back to the topic. I remember back in 2017 when I was at the mall and then I heard Likey being played, and I low-key did the dance to myself when no one was looking. I feel like that doesn't play in 2023. And when I said, oh, I can't believe they didn't play Likey at the Toronto show, I got of course they didn't play Likey.
Damn.
I like
that
me
song's
some
5 years
Likey.
old. Dude, this old. That's the old and busted song. I don't know what. I haven't been keeping up with Twice, so I don't know what the new hotness is.
Me neither, Matt. Me neither. But I did listen to the new Jeans EP, Matt. I know, again, this isn't a music adjacent mistake podcast, but the fact that EP is, I believe, 6-ish songs, and it clocks in at around 12 minutes in total, with one of the songs being like 40 seconds. Matt, the current state of music on streaming services is wild, and not a fan of it. I like me a good beefy song. But I guess we'll talk about beefy songs later on in the episode. But this is the Mistake Zone, and Matt, I feel like we have our fair share of mistakes this week.
Yep.
And I know we, had a kind of tangent last week when we talked about wrestling. Thank you again, Matt, for sitting in on that one. But to kind of bring it back to anime adjacent topics, at least for the little bit right now, Matt, there's one new manga chapter that was released this week that I want to talk about. And I'm talking about Dosanko Gyaru is mega cute. Of course, Hokkaido gals are super adorable. Anime coming soon. But Matt, chapter 100 is, I'll probably be spoiling the chapter for the most part. So if you're still reading that, please check the timestamps to fast forward, or, just cover your ears. But chapter 100 is kind of the accumulation of, I feel like the story is on its last legs right now. We have a more or less, not necessarily in writing definitive, but our main characters, we have Tsubasa and Minami, or Fuyuki. They're pretty much in a relationship at this point, and I feel like chapter 100 really solidifies that. Essentially, this is the accumulation of... So Christmas Eve is Christmas Eve, but also Fuyuki's birthday. And for the past couple of chapters, Tsubasa has been working on a present for her. And just based on how the previous chapters were set up, we all knew that Tsubasa was going to be drawing something. And I think the prevalent theory was he was drawing a portrait for Fuyuki. And her birthday finally comes around, and he presents his present to her. And for me to really illustrate how I think impactful this present, or Tsubasa's present, is, we have to kind of consider the previous 100 chapters and Author Kun's use of color throughout. You know, Hokkaido gals are super adorable because
Oh, it's a color chapter.
it's, I would say half this chapter is in color. But first we have to consider how color is used in the first 100 chapters, and it's like all manga, it's used pretty sparingly, where we do have, you know, special commemorative, you know, one or two first chapters are usually, or first few pages of a chapter will be in color, you know, to commemorate something. But from at least the versions I've been reading, there have been moments where each of the potential girls, because of course this is a harem anime or manga anime, or I guess, you know, that adjacent media, each one of these girls have had their own moments with Tsubasa, you know, whether that be Fuyuki, whether that be Sayuri, and whether that be Rena. And during their, not necessarily dates, but their special bonding moments, that's when we get these colored pages to kind of really signify how important the scene is. And of course, Fuyuki has had a bit more color pages compared to the other two girls, but essentially keeping that in mind, that color is only used previously as either a commemoration or to kind of amplify a special bond event, a social link essentially between Tsubasa and one of the girls. And when Tsubasa finally delivers his present in chapter 100, it's actually a sketchbook of all these important moments between him and Fuyuki throughout the manga as a whole. So it's essentially him redrawing all these special interactions between the two in this, you know, sketch style, full color. And it even calls back to some of the moments that were presented in color originally as well. So I loved how when he finally delivers the present to Fuyuki, that's when little color is being added to panels. So, you know, we'll get maybe her clothes are colored, maybe her eyes are colored, and it's being gradually built up until all the pages are in color for that particular section. It's this mix of the actual manga style mixed in with the sketches, with her flipping through the sketchbook. And I really feel like that was such a special moment between these two characters who are finally admitting to each other that, hey, I like you, and this present is here to illustrate all the special times we've had together. And for it to be, I just loved its use of color. And even when she's done flipping through the notebook and we're returning back to the black and white paging or panels, it's the color once again kind of gradually fading out until it fully becomes black and white again. So I really loved the redrawing of all these notable scenes, but also just the use of color overall in this chapter. It really is one of those moments that this has been a slow burn. This has been a long time coming. Of course, it's been 100 chapters. And again, I think I've told you many times, Matt, from me reading this manga, there were many chapters where I said, "Oh, I hate Tsubasa. I hate how he rejected Rena. I hate how he rejected Sayuri, even after her glow up." And I don't know, Matt, just seeing it all come together here, I think I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth the wait, but it is such a sentimental chapter that I really did enjoy it this week. I do recommend kind of just people to check it out, even if they just want to see how the production is kind of done for this chapter. But again, it's amplifying the fact that it is recalling all these previous moments in Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable. And I'm actually curious to see how this gets animated, where if it's kind of her flipping through the sketchbook and then just the backgrounds being the sketches. But Matt, you know, I'm a sucker for any media that has someone looking at sketches and then the sketches being animated as a visual effect, where I kind of hope that happens. But yeah, chapter 100 of Hokkaido Gals, really enjoyed it. And after delivering such a gift, I believe we're gonna see, that end tag, that fin tag.
Oh, Jaren, do you actually? Do you not think that this is the type of harem where they could continue it for another 100 chapters?
I feel like after you give such a gift, and this what to kind of also set it up, he gave it to her on Christmas Eve, and he asked his parents, essentially her mother drove her to Subasa's house, and then he's asking all of them if he can walk Fuyuki home. So I feel like with all that setting off, I feel like we're definitely in like the kind of home stretch right now where if they try to expand it, I guess in terms of romance manga in general, Matt, when you have the confession and hey, you two are officially going out, it's either, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, it's either you end it or you go into the issue of hey, where are we going to, like, university or college? Or I mean, those are the only routes, right? You either end it or you deal with what are we going to do after high school.
I mean, it also sometimes will just genre shift from harem to standard romance, right? Where
That is true.
it just follows how their relationship goes.
Yeah, kind of like Citrus once again. And you can also play around with all the other characters that are not in relationships.
Yeah, and Jaren, let's not forget that you can always go the route of, hey, they're in a relationship now, but it's still going to be a harem anime. Oh, look, new characters.
Matt, can their relationship withstand this new female character?
Can it withstand, like the existing relationships, can it withstand, hey, new characters from the past? Or like either of their pasts and stuff like that.
This is why I hate harem anime, Matt. This is why I hate harem manga.
Jeremy, when you told me that you wanted to talk about this this manga on the show, I was really surprised because of all the, I think, like, series that we've ever talked about on and off the show, I feel like this is the one where I've heard you the most say, I can't believe I'm reading this, I'm dropping this.
It's because I really like Rena, like the senpai character. So when that I hate a good rejection chapter, and Rena senpai's rejection chapter made me sad. And then you have Sayuri with her glow up and that, I don't want to say iconic, but that iconic panel that was giving Makima vibes, Matt.
Jared.
And for him to reject her, felt bad, man. Felt real bad. Jared, I hate misunderstandings.
Jared, I can't believe I forgot about the additional way that harem manga continue, which is Finn Route A.
Jared. After the glorious We Never Learn Bokuben, have there been any other manga that comes to mind that have utilized Finn Route A or Route B?
No, Jaren, I'll be honest with you. When a manga or series or whatever I'm reading finishes, I'll usually move it off of my like following lists and move it into like kind of just like not following for archiving purposes. But Jaren, Bokuben is one of those ones that I leave on that following list.
Just in case?
Just in case, Jaren. Just in case, ooh, there's one more chapter. Or, oh, author update. Here's Bokuben 2.
Oh, man, Matt. I do the same thing, Matt. I do the same thing. I for all intents and purposes, I don't think I've, X'd it, Bokuben out just yet. Just in case, Matt.
Just in case. Yeah, just in case.
Need it to be fresh. But yeah, Hokkaido Gals are super adorable. Chapter 100. I really enjoyed it, Matt. I really enjoyed it, despite me telling you that I do not enjoy this manga. And Matt, maybe I don't enjoy this manga, but I do enjoy the use of color. So Matt, speaking about genre of manga and anime that I don't like. So for the past few weeks, my partner and I have been watching a lot of My Hero Academia. And me, Matt, you know me, I have gone on the record to say that I do not like shonen anime for the most part. And there are some instances in My Hero that have gotten me to raise an eyebrow. But if there's one thing that will surpass my, general distaste for shonen anime, Matt, I think it's school setting and school tournament setting because I think originally with My Hero, I only watched the first 2 seasons way back in the day. This originally came out, I think, 2016, 2017. I know when we went to Japan the first time back in 2019, I think that was just off the heels of season 3. And I believe when we were in Japan that fall 2019, that's when season 4 was kind of ongoing. And that's why we saw a lot of My Hero ads on, subways and on billboards and whatnot. But I saw my partner watching season 2 and I, sat in and we've just been watching it ever since. As I said, I didn't watch season 3 originally and I think we're halfway through season 3, but I honestly think the most compelling parts to me about My Hero aren't necessarily the battles against, the villains, but it's more so, hey, here's the sports festival. Hey, here's like the provisional test where they're being, tested against themselves, their classmates, or being put up against other, students from different schools. And I think that's my jam, Matt. I think that's my jam. But Matt, this is a shonen anime through and through just because we have arcs that seem like they're never ending. And so we're in the middle of season 3 right now, which is like the provisional test arc. And it's during a really spicy moment of the provisional test when we finished, I think it was like episode 57. We load in episode 58. And Matt, we're hit with, hey, we know you're right in the middle of the provisional arc. We're in the middle of this test, but here's a special episode that is essentially a commercial for you to go watch a movie. And Matt, what do you think? Because, you were a fan of shonen. You've watched your fair share of shonen anime.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on the special episode, and how often do you what do you think about not only the special episodes but say the origin stories in the middle of kind of gigantic set piece arcs?
Jaren, I don't know if I've ever seen one of these kind of special episodes that you're talking about. Like, when you're talking about this, is this really just a go watch this movie episode, or is it more like a recap? Or
so for this one in particular, I forget, I think it was episode 58 of season 3, where it is Midori and All Might starting the episode saying, hey, we know you're in the middle of this test, but we wanted to give you this side story. And essentially it is a side story of 6 of them doing this kind of testing scenario before the training camp arc which happened previously in season 3. And then the episode ends off with All Might getting an email from his friend in America or Island and saying, hey, or it's from his quote unquote niece saying, hey, you should come visit us in Island. And the episode essentially ends, it's like, oh, All Might ask Midori or Deku to go to Island with him, and it ends with, hey, if you want to see their adventures on Island, you should check out the movie. And don't worry, next week it will return us to the provisional tests.
Jared, that sounds gross.
The first half of the episode is actually kind of like, I really do. Again, I like the whole testing scenario just because it becomes kind of low-key murder mystery. And Matt, you know how much I love murder mysteries, even though it's one of those, hey, Deku solves the murder mystery by giving us some convoluted story that he thought up based on the limited information that he has access to. So again, classic anime. But yeah, for the episode to end with All Might saying, hey, let's go to Island, and for them to say, hey, you should go check out the movie. Now back to our regularly scheduled provisional test arc. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was pretty jarring and pretty in your face about how it was just kind of a commercial, low key a commercial for the movie. But I guess in more relatable terms, this does remind me of the origin episode that's usually thrown in the middle of any shonen anime. I think more recently, while watching kind of season 3 of Demon Slayer,
Yeah.
or even just all Demon Slayer, I feel like in the midst of a really intense fight, you'll get the cliffhanger, and then it's, hey, here's the backstory for one of the people fighting, and then maybe next week we'll see the conclusion of this fight. And again, it's something that from my time watching, Dragon Ball, that I've come to. I'm used to the origin story episode, but at the same time, after all of these years, Matt, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of shonen anime, just because I'm here for the fights, Matt. I'm here for the fight choreography, and I'm here to watch bad guys be punched in the face. But
Jaren, oh man.
sorry, go on.
Jaren, I hate the origin episodes. I especially hate them when it's not an origin thing for a main character. Like,
For the most part, it's like the villain.
yeah,
too.
it's always the villain, and Jaren, it's such a waste of time.
Matt,
I want to see them lose, and I don't need to know that. Like, I don't need to know their backstory 5 minutes before they're erased as a character forever, and I don't need to think about them anymore.
Matt, what's worse? Okay, I know what's worse, but do you prefer the origin? Because chances are you're always going to get an origin episode. Do you prefer it after the fight settled, kind of like the brother-sister demon duo in the entertainment district of Demon Slayer?
I think that is better than right before, like, the kill shot.
Yeah.
Because at least you get the satisfaction of the kill shot, and you're on, like, the come down of the origin story at that point.
Matt, what do you think of because I'm thinking about back to season 1 of Demon Slayer. What do you think of kill shot, and then start of next episode, it wasn't actually the kill shot?
I like it because it gives you the glory of the kill shot, but I'm assuming you're talking about, like, the very first Akino Kamikagura scene, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was, like, a very unsatisfying way to do that story beat to me. But I don't know. I like that more than an origin story, I guess.
Matt, I hate origin stories so much. So much. And I feel like with a lot of origin stories, it's kind of a way for you to gain some sort of sympathy for the villain, or kind of give you sympathy for, say, the cold anti-hero, or, the party member who's kind of a dick, but he's a dick with a heart of gold. But at the same time, I'm here for people getting punched in the face.
Jared, straight up, if it's a villain origin story, I skip it. I fast forward. If it's important later, I'll go back and watch it, but I will fast forward it on my first watch.
But Matt, what happens when it's a weekly anime?
Jared, if it's a weekly anime, I can go back and, like, watch it. But, like, if they're gonna die at the end of it, I don't need to care about this character anymore.
Matt, if I want tragic backstories, I can get that in a sad anime that I don't want to watch, but I'm watching for some reason. But yeah, My Hero Academia, Matt. I can't tell if I like this show so much just because it's a shonen anime. Okay, not because it's a shonen anime, but because I love me a good school setting and tournament setting. So Matt, what's a good school tournament anime that I could watch afterwards?
Oh man. The first one that comes to my mind is, like, Yu Yu Hakusho, but I don't remember if that happened in school or not.
Hey man,
but
it
that
could
is,
be a
like,
good sports
all
anime.
they
It could be a good sports anime.
Oh
Matt.
man, Jaren, just watch
Sorry,
any sports anime, Jaren. That's all school tournament arcs.
Oh man, before we get off, I know there's the Studio Ghibli, like, Fest 2023 for, I think it's the Cineplex movie theaters here across Canada, where, a new Ghibli film will be played every few weeks. We watched My Friend Totoro a few weeks ago. The other day, we watched Kiki's Delivery Service. And Matt, one of the previews for this before Kiki's was the Slam Dunk movie. And
Oh
Matt,
man.
do I need to watch me some Slam Dunk?
Jared, I
Because-
have no idea. Slam Dunk is a series I just couldn't get into when I tried reading the manga. But apparently it's such an iconic sports manga.
Oh, I might get into it. Matt, did you ever watch Food Wars or read Food Wars?
I read Food Wars for a bit, yeah.
Good. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I think
Does it
it's-
scratch that tournament itch?
I don't know. I think it's a very weird, it's a very food shonen anime in a way that I didn't like the characters in that manga, so I never really stuck with it. But
Point
it is a
taken.
very popular series, so it might be worth checking out on your own.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I might go back to watch the Ultimate Muscle. I think, that, not to bring it back to wrestling, but Matt, maybe some anime wrestling is right up my alley right now. But yeah, My Hero Academia, watching it pretty much every day, at least. That's a beefy boy, Matt. I guess with all shonen anime, that's a beefy boy. We're season 3 right now. I believe there's 6 seasons altogether. But fun anime, Matt. Fun anime. I told our friend of the show, Subin, that I was watching My Hero, and he was like, "Wow, you're watching the vanilla shonen experience, huh?" I was like, "Yep, guess I am." But who knows, Matt? Who knows? Oh, one last thing from season 3. I forget the episode number, but it was titled "One for All." Matt. Might have teared up there.
Nice.
Might have cheered up there. For if you know, but I personally cheered up there. So, that's it. That's my Hero Academia update for now. And I still hate shonen anime. I hate origin episodes, but give me that slice of school life with tournament setting, and I'm all there, Matt. I'm right there.
Nice. I mean, Jaren, I guess while we're talking about things that we like, I know that one shared interest that we have is rhythm games.
Yes.
Jaren, we've done, I know for sure, at least 2 episodes.
Yep.
And I'm going to just assume across all of Saturday Morning Arcade and Mistake Zone, probably 6 dedicated episodes towards rhythm games.
I mean, when we were recording Saturday Morning Arcade, there was that time when Rock Band 4 came out, Guitar Hero Live came out. So of course, we had multiple episodes dedicated to the rhythm game genre. We like us some rhythm games, Matt Alba.
And Jaren, during the Steam sale a couple weeks ago, I had picked up a couple rhythm games that I
Yes.
had been waiting to play through for quite a while. And Jaren, I am going to start with the Bummer rhythm game that I picked up during the Steam sale, which for me, Jaren, is Sayonara Wild Hearts. I don't know if you ever got a chance to play it.
I've played the first few levels. I guess they're called levels at that point. Yes.
Yeah. Jaren, I went into this game really, really hyped because at that point, everything I'd seen about Sayonara Wild Hearts was something that looked very, very appealing to me. I loved the aesthetic. I loved the musical style. I loved the kind of way the gameplay looked. And I tried to not spoil myself on it as much as I could. I would just kind of rewatch the same things over and over again. And I think that built up a false expectation of what this game was to me.
Definitely.
Because, Jaren, I don't know if it's totally fair to say that this is a rhythm game. It does have rhythm elements because the main conceit of the game is that, hey, you are going through a level that's timed to music. And that is at the very base essence what the rhythm game is. But I think the thing that really messed with me is that the controls for it were far, far, far too loose for me to enjoy playing it as a rhythm game.
Yes.
When I had initially been watching this game, there was, hey, you're kind of gonna go down this side street, you're gonna pick up these notes, you're gonna jump, you're gonna get these notes in the air, you're gonna land, and you're gonna have to quickly slide to get more notes. And I just genuinely expected a lot more. One, like tighter controls, and two, less freedom in how you can move.
Hmm.
I genuinely thought that it was gonna kind of snap to rails in kind of the same way that something like Audio Surf worked. I don't know
Okay,
if you
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that game.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
where you were controlling that spaceship that kind of like went down basically a note highway. And I think that expecting that was me myself shooting myself in the foot in terms of
Hmm.
enjoying this game. And that makes me really sad because everything else around this game is something I really, really like. I just wish it was more note highway-y than real kind of essentially for the most part I'm going to say racing game for
Yeah.
most of like the genres of the levels that I played.
Yeah, I think I feel, I hate to admit it because, as you said, Matt, just aesthetically, I loved how, Sayonara Wild Hearts looks. I think it
Hmm.
is just visually, it's a great looking game, but I really did have the same, hangings when I first played it a few months ago as well. I mainly played on the Steam Deck where I honestly thought that it might not be fully Steam Deck compatible just because, the first time I played it, it was this floaty experience. I think what
Yeah.
really got to me was, the first level you play, you are kind of ranked on, I believe, how on your score, and then you'd get a specific score rating.
Hmm.
And I remember playing through the first level and not getting a high enough rating that I wanted. So I would just replay that one level before bed,
Yeah.
for a few nights in a row, and thinking that, okay, I'll continue playing it on my PC with maybe a keyboard or like my Xbox controller, not that an Xbox controller and the Steam Deck handheld itself are any different in terms
Hmm.
of like
Hmm.
feel. But in trying to get, that max, I forget how the rating system is, but I remember replaying that first level over and over again on the Steam Deck and thinking that, oh, I'm used to when you switch lanes, I'm used to, as you said, that snappiness because I come from the harmonics games,
Yeah.
specifically frequency and amplitude, where when you're switching to your lanes, you're like locked into that lane. Switching is relatively fast. And of course, in those games, you're switching to a different lane to hit a new note chart. So it
Hmm.
has to be snappy. So you're locked in and you're able to continue the note chart there.
Yeah.
And with Sayonara Wild Hearts, just replaying that first level over and over again, I felt like there was a bit of a delay, or it wasn't, not necessarily a delay, but you moving from lane to lane was slower than I expected. And that kind of made the timing for the switches because, like, as you said, you're trying to pick up these like notes or whatever the pickups are.
Hmm.
And you would think that those should correspond with like some sort of instrumental or some sort of beat, but again, it didn't. It felt weird where I wasn't sure if I was supposed to move on beat, move before the beat. Like, it gets weird. I think this is one of my issues I originally had with Persona 4 Dancing All Night, where to me it felt like I wasn't necessarily going along to specific instrumental or vocal beats of the song, but it was just
Hmm.
me playing kind of like almost a separate instrument to the song. So I wasn't really sure what instrument or what vocal point I was tying my presses to. And at
Yes.
the at its core, that's what a tight rhythm game to me needs is you need that audio element to kind of help assist you in your button pressing.
Hmm.
That's why calibration is so important to me, especially for mobile games where I'm making sure that I'm hitting a note visually, but also in line with the rhythm, hence the rhythm game genre. And
Hmm.
initially, I didn't get that from Sayonara Wild Hearts, despite how many times I was replaying the first level over and over again just to see if I could get into the groove, if I can get it to click. But since you've played a lot more than me, Matt, I'm assuming that never clicked with you.
No, it never clicked with me. Just general feel of the gameplay on how loose the controls was made it feel both kind of like unsatisfying and frustrating at the
Yeah.
same time, which I don't know, yeah, kind of like killed my enthusiasm to keep playing that game.
Which is a shame because it looks so good, man. I really
Yeah.
liked how, like, even the story, uh, for what little I did see, I thought it was really fun. But it was the moment I wasn't sure when I was supposed to lane switch. That's when it really killed it for me. And I don't know, maybe I'll try to go back eventually. But yeah, after replaying that first level over and over again and not really kind of getting the feel for the rhythm system, yeah, that unfortunately kind of hit the back burner to me.
Yeah, I think I actually now would most enjoy it just as a YouTube video that I watch, to be honest.
It would be a good looking video though, Matt.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
you said you had a few other rhythm games on your docket, Matt. What was number 2 on your list then?
Jaren, my I guess like number 2 in terms of the 3 games that I decided to get is actually a surprise to me to be at number 2, which is Hatsune Miku Project Diva Megamix Plus.
Yes.
Jaren, I love me some Hatsune Miku. I always kind of, Jaren, Hatsune Miku is, I think, the precursor to VTubers. I don't know if that's like fair to say.
Matt, I'm pretty sure when you were first introducing me to the VTuber rabbit hole, I think I literally asked you, is Hatsune Miku considered a VTuber?
Yeah, like I don't think I fully don't think she is anymore. I think maybe back then I would have maybe argued about it a bit more, but definitely not anymore. But Jaren, Project Diva Mega Mix Plus is, I think, a pretty good Project Diva game. I I just generally like the way Project Diva plays, and the fact that it doesn't follow the standard note chart, and just Jaren, it's just so anime-y. Jaren, by the way, if you get Project Diva Megamix, a lot of the achievements were based on how many cosmetics you unlocked. So when I bought the kind of Ultimate Edition, which included the base game and all the kind of like I think it was like 100 or so songs of DLC. It also gives you like kind of an auto unlock for achievements, so you basically get 50% of the achievements just by owning the DLC off the bat, which was a good goof. I also really liked that. I don't know. I find this happens very often, Jaren, with Japanese games, especially Japanese console games that get brought over to PC. But this thing loaded up at like, I don't know, like 480 like P, and just having that stretched across my giant ass monitor was some good chunk. But I don't know, Jared. Like, I think that the note system in Project Diva is one of my favorite like non-standard note highways.
Yes.
But I also do think that it is one of the most confusing note systems to look at when you're on a new song. I don't know if like how much experience you have with Project Diva games.
Not so. Hatsune Miku Project Diva Mega Mix is I think it is one of the rhythm games I own on the Nintendo Switch. And for the longest time, Mega Mix was the game I would, if I had my Switch on me and I was, waiting around here and there, I would load up specifically my favorite song on the soundtrack, which is Tio by Amoe, and play it over and over again. Because Matt, as much as I love me a good rhythm game, the Project Diva series in general is really hard. And I think going in with that mentality of the note highway rhythm game player, it is such a slap in the face, because even on easy, it's, for me personally, notably different or difficult to full combo a song, just because, as you said, this isn't your typical note highway where with a traditional, I don't want to say traditional, but with a lane note highway rhythm game, you're essentially memorizing the note chart, but it's you looking at the middle of the screen, either trying to edit the backgrounds to kind of be less confusing, or maybe less distracting if you want. But with the Project Diva games, the note chart in itself is all over the place. I feel like that was also an issue that I have with the Cytus games, where you memorizing a note chart means you need to train where your eyes are looking on the screen and knowing when a note will kind of appear there. And that for me personally makes sight reading a lot more difficult, just because you don't know when something's coming at you, as opposed to with a note lane highway. I feel like for the most part, whether it's Bang Dream, whether it's Project Sekai, you can kind of see what's upcoming just because your eyes are trained at a specific place on screen. But with the Megamix games, the Project Diva games, I don't know where I'm supposed to look, and that means you actually have to work, or at least for me personally, you have to work, you have to practice to get that full combo. And I also think with the Project Diva games, your accuracy window is really strict.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've said this before during one of our pods, Matt, but I played Rock Band on this wasn't a CRT TV. I didn't play on a CRT TV. I played on, through HDMI cables. I played through, what was not the HDMI, component or composite cables, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was component cables.
Component cables.
No, yeah, it might be one of those. Now I don't know.
One of those. You know what I'm talking about. But at that point, you had to put a certain delay on it as well for it to calibrate properly. And I think years of playing Rock Band on not the best calibration has made my kind of accuracy window a lot less specific. Just because when I'm playing, say, a Bang Dream game, when I'm playing Project Sekai, I'm getting a lot of greats in terms of accuracy instead of, perfect note hits.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the Project Diva games, that doesn't fly, Matt. That legit doesn't fly. But how are you feeling with just the general gameplay and the note charts? And do you have any specific note charts that comes to mind with Megamech or Project Diva?
I don't actually have any specific note charts that come to mind, but Jaren, I think okay, Jaren, there's one thing about the way that Megamix works in that I think is is super gross for me, and I hate it, which is basically every Project Diva game kind of has its own unique note that they introduce just for that specific entry, right?
Yeah.
And for this one, it's the left and right sliders. And
would you have those bound to on your copy?
If I'm using a controller, it's left and right bumper triggers and right stick. If I'm using keyboard, if you're looking kind of at WASD, it's on Q and E.
Oh, nice.
And then on the other side, it'd be U and O.
Right.
But Jaren, those messed me up when I was initially playing, because I don't know which standard note icons you use, but I was using arrows at first.
Same.
And in the panic of, trying to not fail with how tight Project Diva's note hits are, getting the left or right arrow the first time that you're seeing it within a note chart, and me hitting left or right normal is the worst. I hated it. I ended up switching to PlayStation face buttons.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I did that for the same reason, just because the first time I ran into I guess I called them the flicks because I'm from Bang Dream. But I hate those directional inputs. I think those are always a bane to me. And yeah, I think playing through Project Diva the first time, it is an ego check for me just because it is such a completely different rhythm experience that I'm into. But as a fan of, just Vocaloid songs in general and Vocaloid producers, I do like how the Project Diva games have become this celebration of just Vocaloid songs and Vocaloid culture as a whole. I like just watching performances just because you can watch if there are choreography or music videos attached to it. I definitely love just watching them and kind of dressing up your Vocaloid in one of their many outfits.
Oh my god, Jaren.
I think go on, Matt.
The dress up, Jaren. Jaren, the fact that you can set your your clothes for every single song individually is wild to me, and it makes me want to do it, but also makes me dread having to do it.
And I think for me personally, Matt, I love the fact that, as I said, I brought it up earlier, you have the Persona 4 Dancing All Night Miku costume available, and I think that's my default Miku costume. But just in general, when I'm just bummed out about me not being able to full combo songs here in Project Diva, I do like just, firing it up, picking a song I like, watching the music video, and then dressing up the Vocaloid in question. But yeah, I feel like this is something that I will eventually pick up on Steam once a new sale rolls around again, just because I think I do have Megamix on the Switch, but I don't think it came with all the DLC. And the Switch port is actually really fun. I think it works relatively well. And I just wanted it to have it because the Switch being handheld and just having a mobile rhythm game. But
it's like I don't have the Steam Deck now.
I do have the Steam Deck, so again, we come to this situation. But yeah, it is for me, Project Diva Megamix is something that is a humbling experience. And I think while we're on the topic of Megamix, sorry, Matt, I know you did bring 3 rhythm games, but you know me, Matt, I play 3 rhythm games on a regular basis, which are Bang Dream Girls Band Party, Project Sekai, or Hatsune Miku's Colorful Stage, and of course D4DJ Groovy Mix. And I feel like Project Sekai or Hatsune Miku's Colorful Stage is, I think the Project Diva fans for a minute now have been worried that this is essentially Sega's bread and butter, just because it is one of the, every time I look up, mobile games and what they're grossing in terms of like income, Project, for the most part, Project Diva, Colorful Stage is the upper tier of rhythm mobile games that are making money. And like Project Diva, Project Sekai Colorful Stage is, again, this celebration of Vocaloid culture, Vocaloid producing, and just music in general, with the same things as you are able, not only are you able to see the Vocaloids, but all these real world, quote unquote, real world band equivalents or unit equivalents, them performing together, all these different versions of Hatsune Miku. And kind of like Project Diva, if the song in question has a MV attached to it, then of course you can dress up your avatars and watch the performances, where I feel like Project Sekai is the next, or the current rendition of what Project Diva was. But again, it is your traditional Note Highway. It is a gacha game, so you are fighting for units, where I haven't looked into it, but I am curious if Project Diva does make a return, just because, again, man, Project Sekai makes so much money. And for every time I do see a new content update for Project Sekai, I'll read through comments and see, the occasional, hey, when are they going to release a new Project Diva? Just because for what, as much as I do enjoy Project Sekai, I think coming from a Bang Dream background, it makes me there are things about Project Sekai that I have difficulty with, mainly because I feel like their note highway is a lot. See, this might not make sense, Matt, but with Bang Dream and with Project Sekai, even though I have them all running at, say, 10 note speed, I feel like Bang Dream's note lane is a lot longer compared to how the Project Sekai note chart lane is presented, where even if the notes are coming to you at the same speed, I feel like Project Sekai, the notes are a lot more clumped together in comparison to Bang Dream, but I think that just might be a preference thing. But I think when it comes to mobile rhythm games, that's in that environment, I am a fan more so of Bang Dream, just because a lot of their songs are shorter for the most part, where songs will range between, I don't know, a lot of the normal songs don't go past 2 minutes on Bang Dream in comparison to Project Sekai, where, you know, sure, you'll get shortened versions of Vocaloid songs, but for the most part, you're playing the full Vocaloid song. And when you're in a energy environment, that's kind of rough, Matt. When you want to burn through, 10 energy, and you might, luck of the draw has you playing, I don't know, 3, 4, 2 to 3 minute songs back to back. I honestly feel like, as shitty as this sounds, that in terms of mobile rhythm games, like Project Sekai, as much as it's staying true to the source music, I feel like it doesn't respect your time with just how long songs can be.
Jared, you're trying to maximize the amount of gameplay you get for your energy.
Of course, but again, it's one of those, in a situation where you might be in a commute. Let's say you're on a commute. You might not have the luxury of being able to play that full song. But I don't know. That's kind of the grip for me with Project Sekai, where I find myself only playing like one song in a multi-room to use like 10 energy all at once, and then the challenge song for the day, and then I'm kind of done. Because I played Bang Dream a lot longer, so I'm going to stick with Bang Dream. But that was me going on a tangent. All I want to say is I do see a lot of Project Diva in Project Sekai, but kind of like a lot of Project Diva fans, I'm curious if Sega does go back to the Project Diva franchise, just because they have their mobile moneymaker in Project Sekai. And that might be like the cynical way to look at it. But I see it's hard for me to see them announce a new Project Sekai, Project Diva game saying, hey, buy X amount, even though we might be reusing the same choreography for songs we've used for all previously right now. But that's kind of me right now. But Matt, any last thoughts on Project Diva?
The dual notes, when they come together in groups, like two groups of dual notes coming together at the same time, is cruel, Jaren.
Yes,
that's so bad, especially when they group them on screen with not their pair. That is the worst. Oh man.
The first time, so I'm playing on, again, the Switch, and then I put it to the Switch button keys or whatever.
Oh man, I did that too. I couldn't do it, Jared.
The first time I got a Y and X note or whatever, I cried. I legit cried because my brain, whenever I hate when it's like you get YA and then XB, and then all of a sudden you get a YX, a BA. Like, my brain shuts down, man. I can't comprehend what I'm seeing. And then they'll throw
such a weird button combo.
Oh man! And then they'll throw you the bumper buttons or the flicks. Not a fan, Matt. Not a fan.
Yeah.
But as much as we love us some Hatsune Miku, Matt, what was the third game on your list of rhythm games from Steam?
Jared, the third game on my list is Melatonin. And I think that this is my favorite rhythm game that I bought during this kind of a package of rhythm games.
I do not know what Melatonin is, Matt. Please enlighten us.
Melatonin is basically rhythm heaven.
Okay.
I am all about that. I know, Jaren, that you said before that you weren't really a fan of the rhythm heaven games.
I think based on our conversation for the last, what was it, 20 minutes, Matt, you know how much I
Oh
love
yeah.
a proper note highway.
But I think that anybody who is a fan of the rhythm heaven games and generally a fan of like kind of lo-fi sort of music, Melatonin is 100% gonna be your jam. I just really like the kind of simple gameplay that goes into this. Basically, you're either gonna be pressing left, right, or spacebar. Those are basically all the activation buttons for all of the kind of games.
Yep.
And I don't know, it just feels so good, Jaren. Like you said, when you were comparing Project Diva to Bang Dream, the songs in Melatonin are so short compared to Project Diva,
Yeah.
where it is really just a minute and a half to 2 minutes per song, and it does really hit that like kind of nice sweet spot. And since they're all musical and not there's like no lyrics for any of them, when there's kind of like two modes for every song, which is basically kind of the normal mode and the hard mode. And the nice thing about the hard mode is that's usually a increased tempo with extra beats to it.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is like a very nice change for how these kind of like rhythm games can work, because it's usually just the same song no matter what difficulty you're doing, and then it's just more, what do you call it, I guess, button presses to it. Like
Yeah.
they omit beats, which
Yes.
I've never really was a fan of in terms of like Guitar Hero or any kind of like normal rhythm game. I always felt like if I was playing on, like, let's say I'm just like learning the game, I just had to go on like a hard difficulty for a normal rhythm game,
Yeah.
and you always expect things to be there, but they're not, and it causes you to like drop a combo or something. I was never really a fan of that, but like it's nice to see that Melatonin changes it up by making it a little faster or adding like a beat here and there that makes it kind of a bit more crunchy to play at the higher difficulty.
Okay. You're actually selling me on this because I think I've said this before, Matt, especially coming from a background of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, where I think for me, it was always a race for me to get comfortable with Expert, just because, harmonics and I guess Neversoft, when they eventually took in Guitar Hero, their note charting, I guess, philosophy was on Expert, every note would be tied to a note on the chart. And that would always weird me out when you would play like medium or hard, where certain notes would be grouped into kind of one note, where on Expert, this section would have all the notes would be, let's say there would be several notes there, but then on hard or on medium, those several notes become like one click or one like button press, and that always threw me off. And once you hit Expert, you can like really never go back. Kind of same with, not necessarily with rhythm, like a Project Diva, a Project Sekai, a Bang Dream, just because again, you are adding more notes, but that's not necessarily tied to, say, a specific instrument, where a higher note chart might be, okay, in this section, we're mainly charting the drums, or we're mainly charting the guitar, or we're going to add in a vocal beat here, a drum beat there. And I guess going back to Project Sekai, one of the things that also throws me off is their note charting, where I'm kind of used to Bang Dream, where for the most part, they're charting to instruments.
Yeah.
And Project Sekai, they're charting to the Vocaloid vocals. And I never, for me personally, I don't like when vocals are charted, just because there's less of a kind of familiar rhythm, where for me, a vocal chart, I need to listen to a few times for me to get the rhythm of the vocals down, in comparison to, say, an instrument chart where you're kind of just vibing with it. But I digress. Going back to Melatonin, Matt, how is it visually? Like, because with, say, a rhythm heaven, you have that cartoony anime feel. What are the visuals and aesthetics like for Melatonin, though?
The visuals are all very kind of like soft and very pastel in color tone. I kind of really like it. Like it really actually calling it Melatonin really does lean into its art style where everything is very kind of cartoony. Everything's kind of like I said, pastel paleted. There's not really any complicated animations going on.
Yeah.
And everything kind of moves at I don't want to say a slow pace, but a very smooth pace.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's really, I think it's like the art style is like really, really good. But Jaren, the gameplay here, Jaren, is where I think, of course, like as a rhythm game, it's going to shine. Because one of the things that happened or one of the ways that Rhythm Heaven is set up, and I guess the same way for Melatonin, is that you basically press a button on a beat, and then that's kind of just like is how you're like scoring within these games. But one of the things that I kind of like about Melatonin is that while you are following the beat, it is not only the beat that you have to follow in a lot of these games. Because for some of them, you're doing something where it's like, okay, you're actually following the beat where you're trying to keep in time, like you're doing like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 tap. But then they'll also change it up where, for example, one of the games is kind of a cashier thing. So it'll be kind of someone scanning an item and then you have to bag them to that same tempo like a measure later, which I think is like a nice one. Yeah. Or one of like the ones I actually like really liked in terms of like how they decided to do it is you're always going to be hitting something on a beat, but the note that you have or the button that you have to hit, whether it's like left or right, the kind of conceit of this game is that you're on something like Tinder or Bumble or anything like that.
Yeah. And
you have to listen for either an ascending note pattern or a descending note pattern to know if you're going to swipe left or hit the left button or the right button.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which I think is like a nice kind of like thing to have in this sort of rhythm game.
Yeah.
And Jaren, one of the things that I like gameplay wise, but like dislike because I'm bad at dealing with it, is the kind of like games where you're not trying to be on beat. You have to play off the off beats.
I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that.
Which, Jared, I hate, but like when you nail that one, oh, it feels so good.
No, got to be on beat, Matt. Got to be on beat. But
oh man,
you're selling me on this, Matt. You're selling me on this.
Mm-hmm. I think like Melatonin is like very, very much worth a play if you're into kind of like the Rhythm Heaven or just like these kind of games in general.
Yeah,
like definitely pick it up. I think next like Steam sale or whatever sale, or buy it at full price. It's still a good game.
Yeah, man, Matt. Talking about rhythm games on Steam right now, I'm looking at my rhythm game collection on Steam, and I should really install Trombone Champ on my PC because Matt, when I first played that, the first time I played it was on the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
and Matt, I feel like you need a mouse for that.
Oh yeah,
because could not play it on the Steam Deck with like the controllers. I thought like I could use the touchscreen, can't use the touchscreen.
Oh, that's surprising.
The trackpads are also rough there, so I think I need to give it another go on the PC. But Matt, I didn't pick up DJ Max or whatever on Steam as well. I'll go back to Muse Dash every now and then, but yeah, Matt, I think based on what we discussed today, we'll probably pick up Project Diva and some Melatonin next time we have a Steam sale. But I think there are some summer sales going on third-party websites that are legit key sellers. That maybe I'll look into it just to see what their offer is. But Matt, any last thoughts on the 3 rhythm games you brought to the table today?
No, I think I got everything I wanted out of there. Like I wish there was more to Melatonin. I wish Sayonara Wild Hearts was like tighter in gameplay, and I wish Project Diva was easier.
Same, Matt. Big same. So Matt,
Jaren,
Speaking about the Steam platform, there was some pretty surprising news to come out this week, and I'm taking this from a inside Blizzard post off the Blizzard website titled Overwatch 2 is coming to Steam on August 10th. And Matt, specifically, Blizzard noted that they're excited to announce that they are going to be bringing a selection of their games to Steam, starting with Overwatch 2, which will be available on the platform on August 10th. Mike Barra, president of Blizzard Entertainment, says in this post that it's our goal at Blizzard to listen to players and try to exceed their expectations in everything we do. While Battle.net remains a priority for us now and into the future, we've heard players want the choice of Steam for a selection of our games, starting with Overwatch 2 on August 10th. We're happy to work with Valve to make it happen. And Matt, needless to say, when I saw this headline this week, I raised an eyebrow just because I feel like in an age where we have reached this publisher, installer, publisher, their unique launcher fatigue.
Yeah.
I feel like Battle.net was destined to always be the holdout, just given the, quality that Blizzard had, their reputation has allowed them for the longest time with such heavy hitters. And I think the last time we had such discourse around the Battle.net launcher was, just after the Activision, when, Blizzard went under the Activision umbrella and we started seeing, Call of Duty on the Battle.net launcher. But for it to come to Steam and then for them to specifically say a selection of games, Matt, what were some of the first thoughts to come into your head?
I was just so jarred to see Overwatch 2 on my Steam thing.
Yeah.
I legitimately thought that I opened my Battle.net launcher for a second when I saw that. Have they said any other games that are coming, or they've only announced Overwatch 2 so far?
They've only announced Overwatch 2, and I'm on, Blizzard.com right now, and when you go into their games tab, we see Diablo 4, we see World of Warcraft, Overwatch 2, Hearthstone, Diablo Immortal.
Yeah. Jaren?
Yeah.
Do you think that right now it's time for a good old segment of blind speculation?
Yes, always, Matt. I feel like that's the backbone here at the Mistake Zone. What should we blind speculate about?
Jaren. Okay, I think that there is a 0% chance World of Warcraft ever goes to Steam.
Yes, I think World of Warcraft is the holdout here, where I don't think we see World of Warcraft on Steam. And the only... Okay, Matt, I take that back. If and okay, I'm just going to say if and when the Microsoft acquisition comes through, and if World of Warcraft gets bundled into Game Pass Ultimate...
No way, man. I don't think that that's happening.
Really?
Jared, I think that's too good of a deal.
If World of Warcraft gets bundled into Game Pass Ultimate, I think we see World of Warcraft on Steam.
Oh, man. Oh, that would be wild, Jared.
Okay, Matt. So we're here in blind speculation territory. Man. If and when the Activision acquisition happens and Microsoft acquires Activision Blizzard, what are... forget Steam. That's not fun. Matt.
Okay.
What are the Game Pass perks that you get with the Blizzard games? And do you think we'll see Game Pass perks with Blizzard games?
I don't know if you get like perks within game for Blizzard games through Game Pass, but I think on Game Pass I could definitely see everything within the classic games for sure showing up on Game Pass. Like Diablo 2, the expansion, Lost Vikings, and original Warcraft 3. And actually even I guess the original Warcraft games, which I'm actually surprised to not see on this list, unless I'm just overlooking it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Call of Duty end up on a Game Pass if it's not already there in some.
I
some
feel
way.
like Call of Duty, given everything that's happened with Sony over the past, since the announcement of this acquisition, I don't think Call of Duty gets well, maybe it does, but I don't think. Again, this is someone who has no real basis to speculate on this stuff, but for the first few, I'm curious to see in that agreement that Microsoft has signed with Sony or whatever their talks are, if there is a caveat, etched out towards, hey, you're not putting it for free on game. But who knows? It will probably be on free just because we do see a lot of first party games from the Microsoft end becoming, day one on Game Pass. So we'll see. But I'm curious to see if their agreement with Sony and even Nintendo to a degree put some muddy waters there. But looking at the Blizzard games now, when I bring down the scroll down menu and kind of seeing what's being offered, because like with League of Legends on Game Pass, you just get access to all the heroes.
Yeah, I was about to say something similar where I think like, is Heroes of the Storm still a thing?
Yeah, well,
yeah, I can see that happening there.
Yeah, where you get all the heroes in there,
or at least an expanded like hero roster for free.
I think with Game Pass, you'll probably get a free booster or something with Hearthstone.
Oh, true. Well, card back probably.
Card back, yeah, definitely. Overwatch, maybe a hero skin. But looking at this list right now, Matt, does Diablo 4 ever go to Steam?
I don't think it goes there until Diablo 4 gets a expansion.
Okay. Hearthstone.
I could see Hearthstone going there just because, like, that card back thing. You know what? I almost like 99% expected now just because we brought up the card back thing. That has to be a thing.
Do we see StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 Reforged?
I think both of those are like a genuine possibility. I think StarCraft 2 is free to play now.
Oh, is it? I
really think it is. Yeah. Like I think the multiplayer is free to play, and then the campaign is you have to buy.
Matt, does the announcement of Blizzard games select Blizzard games being on Steam, does that do anything for you? Like, do you see yourself trying to add do you see yourself with Blizzard games in your Steam ecosystem, or are you too kind of invested, quote unquote, in the BNet ecosystem as well?
I can see myself buying Blizzard games on the Steam storefront. I think the big thing is, will I still have to log in through Battle.net? Because if I do, I might as well just get it on the Battle.net launcher. Yeah. I think that's a big thing for me on deciding where I'm going to get this game, or where I would like get like future Blizzard games.
I'm pretty sure you would still have to log in, or at least tie your Steam account to your Battle.net account.
Yeah.
Kind of something similar to like with
Origin or Ubisoft.
Yeah. Origin, exactly. Apex or a Ubisoft game I was going to say. But I think to me, seeing the headline, especially when it came to Overwatch 2, two things came to mind. One was this has to be in some way some sort of action tied to the eventual Microsoft acquisition. Maybe not, obvious on the surface, but maybe this is kind of set up for something to come. And two, I think, again, it's not necessarily going to affect how I play Blizzard games. Like, again, it is kind of nice to have it natively run off Steam, just because when I'm playing Diablo 4 on my Steam Deck, that's me having to, work around that to get, Battle.net to launch on a Steam Deck. But I think, as I said earlier, it's just the whole legacy aspect of this is definitely a different Blizzard than the one that I grew up with now. And of course it is. But to kind of see the last, publisher launcher kind of go this way that had any real grounds to stay separate, and then finally, kind of get introduced to the Steam ecosystem. I think that was like the wildest thing to me. but just from a personal standpoint, it doesn't really change much for me. I guess it will depend what is going to be released in the future, and if is there a cross progression situation or even a cross purchase situation where I have Diablo 4 on my BattleNet, where even if Diablo 4 eventually comes to Steam, I'm not going to rebuy Diablo 4 just to have it run on Steam, So, that's it. That's really everything I had. It was just kind of surreal to see it, see that headline this week, and gave me that feeling of, oh, this is the end of an era in some way. But any other thoughts on Blizzard games coming to Steam, Matt?
No, Jaren, I'm just really surprised to see that this ever happened, and I'm interested in seeing what makes the jump.
Yeah, just because again, looking at the games list on Blizzard right now, I can see most of these going there in some capacity. It is their money makers that I'm really curious about, mainly World of Warcraft and even Diablo Immortal, where I'm curious to see if World of Warcraft and Diablo Immortal get put on, just because and I would assume they would have less. There's some sort of agreement in place where, Blizzard probably doesn't get the 70-30 or 80-20 split.
Oh yeah, I would expect it to be different.
But at the same time, like, even if that's still a percentage of, your monthly earners in World of Warcraft and Diablo Immortal, which, Diablo Immortal is still making crazy money too. And even if it is on Steam, that's still a pretty penny to essentially give up. But we'll see that. We'll see. But Matt, another beefy episode this week that we discussed some rhythm games, we discussed some online game launchers, and we discussed some anime and manga. I think a bit of everything here on the Mistake Zone this week. Matt, as always, I want to thank you for joining me every week and editing this. I was going to say fine program, but this program, Matt, this program. I want to thank all our friends online for joining us as well. I want to thank Hokkaido Gals. I want to thank School Tournament Arcs. I want to thank Hatsune Miku. Matt, I always want to thank Hatsune Miku. I want to thank Tight Rhythm Games. And I want to thank... I don't know from who on... No, let's thank Nova. I'll thank Nova this week, Matt.
Thanks, Nova.
But, Matt, Season 1 of Diablo did it start already? Starting soon.
Oh man, Jared, that thing is a dumpster fire that I think I'll talk about. I'll talk about next week.
I saw there was a blog post, but I guess that will be a cliffhanger for next week, and I can't wait for everyone to be disappointed by the Jaren and Matt Friendship Origin episode next week.
Oh man!
But until then, Matt.
Oh wait, Jaren.
Yes.
Jaren. We can't quit without me saying that Jaren, I want to thank you for hosting the show.
Aw, Matt, you're too kind. You're too kind.
Oh man.
Matt, I want to thank Message Boards for facilitating our French. Oh no, I gave away our origin story.
Oh no. Oh.
But Matt, take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of loose rhythm game controls.